Make your turn around. Okay, so this is it's a pretty short and easy lesson. There's basically 3 rules for naming things. So let's look at an example here, how this stuff comes about. So let's say we had, I don't know, sodium and chlorine, and they react and they form a compound, and that would be sodium chloride, NaCl. Okay, so when they're separate elements, this is called sodium, this is called chlorine, but when they come together, we change part of the name, sodium chloride. And so we have some very simple rules so we know what to change and when to change. And it's basically just 3 rules for this stuff. So here we go. Alright, first, the cation. Cation is almost always the metal, right? So in this case it's sodium. Does not change its name. So sodium stays sodium when it's in a compound. Everybody knows cation means positive ion, right? Take a little plus sign if you want to remind you it's positive or sign. The anion, that's the negative one. Change ending to IDE. And it's pretty easy for the halogens. Chlorine becomes chloride, fluorine becomes fluoride, bromine becomes bromide. For some of the other non-metal ones like oxygen and sulfur, it's a little harder. Oxygen becomes oxide, so we throw away like several of the last letters. I'll do some examples for those. All right, what's the last thing here? Write the cation first. So you couldn't call this chloride sodium. You have to call it sodium chloride. So always write the cation first, the anion second. Basically, the way to know which one's going to come first, for the most part, is this. We write from left to right. Well, you go on the periodic table from left to right. Because usually the cation is the one's farther to the left on the periodic table, and the anion is usually the one's farther to the right. The only exception that usually comes up is hydrogen. Sometimes hydrogen will come at the end of something, or sometimes it could be the anion and be called hydride. Okay, so that's it, right from left to right. Sodium's on the left side of the periodic table, chlorine's on the right side, so we write sodium first, then we write chloride. Questions? All right, so let's just do some examples here. I'll give you the formula. You tell me what it's called. What's that? Lithium fluoride. It's UO, isn't it? Yeah. Fluorine always seems to be backwards. By the way, we also change the ending to IDE when they're ions. So if you had a fluorine ion, we call it fluoride also. How about, what's that? Lithium oxide. Oxide is oxygen. Don't worry about the 2 on the lithium. We'll talk about that stuff later. That's not part of it. How about, yeah. Yeah, so sulfur is another one where you're like, how many letters do I chop off at the end? So it's sulfide. We'll do, what's that? Oh, sorry. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, this will be aluminum oxide. And let's do one more and we'll be done. I did magnesium already. What's that? Calcium bromide. So basically for these ionic compounds, we're really just writing the metal first, non-metal second, and then we're changing the ending to IBE. That's pretty much it. Questions?
No.
All right. Remember, these naming rules get more complicated as we go along, so make sure you know these ones, and then as I get into other stuff, you'll be able to tell the difference. All right. We can stop the video. That's it. We're done. You know, we'll teach one thing in a day.